Hello everyone. Welcome to today's video on GitHub Copilot. Coding is no longer just about writing every single line yourself. With tools like GitHub Copilot powered by AI, developers now have an assistant that can suggest code, write functions, and even generate tests in seconds. But what exactly is GitHub? How does it connect to Copilot? And is it really as powerful as people say? In this video, I'll walk you through the key concepts, explore the official GitHub Copilot page, and finally show you a live demo where we've put it to test. But before moving on to this session, make sure that you have subscribed to IP Specialist on YouTube and don't forget to hit the bell icon for updates. Alright, first things first. Let's understand how exactly Copilot connects to GitHub. What if you had a Copilot for your code? Someone sitting right next to you, anticipating your next move, writing code alongside you. That's the idea behind GitHub Copilot. And the name isn't random. In aviation, the Copilot doesn't replace the pilot, right? They assist, handle routine tasks, reduce workload, and double check things, making the flight safer and more efficient. The same concept applies here. GitHub Copilot isn't meant to take over your job as a developer, but to help you move faster, focus on the bigger picture, and cut down on repetitive work. Now, why GitHub? Because Copilot is deeply tied to the GitHub ecosystem. To use Copilot, you need a GitHub account, since subscriptions, billing, and access are all managed through GitHub itself. More importantly, Copilot integrates directly with your project stored in GitHub repositories, giving it context and making its suggestion more relevant. GitHub is the platform and Copilot is the assistant that runs alongside it inside your integrated development environment. So now that we understand how GitHub and Copilot are connected, let's take a deeper look at GitHub itself, the foundation where all of this comes together. In simple terms, GitHub Copilot is an AI-powered coding assistant. Think of it as an intelligent partner that works inside your code editor. You start writing a line of code or even just a comment, and Copilot instantly suggests the next steps. It can write full functions, generate test cases, or even explain what a piece of code does. Here's an example. Imagine that you're writing a comment in Python that says, function to calculate factorial. Before you even finish, Copilot can generate the entire function for you. Or let's say you type fetch weather data from an API. Copilot would build out the request, parse the data, and print the temperature all within seconds. An easy way to think about is it like using autocorrect or predictive text on your phone. When you start typing a sentence, your phone guesses the next word. Copilot does the same thing, but with code. Only much smarter because it understands programming languages, context, and your project structure. And just like a real copilot in aviation, it doesn't fly the plane for you. It assists you, reduces your workload, and helps you focus on the bigger task. You're still the developer in charge, but Copilot makes the journey smoother and faster. So, when we talk about GitHub Copilot, it really comes down to three main components working together. First, and most importantly, Copilot's brain is a powerful AI model called OpenAI Codex. Think of this as its education. This model was trained on a massive dataset of billions of lines of public code from repositories on GitHub. But it's not just code, it's also trained on natural language, meaning it understands both the code and the comments and documentation that surrounds it. This training means Codex has ingested coding patterns, syntax, best practices, and even common bugs across dozens of programming languages. It hasn't just memorized code, it has learned the structure and logic behind it. This vast knowledge base is what allows it to generate relevant code from scratch. Then we have the context, your code editor. A vast knowledge base isn't enough. Copilot is constantly analyzing the context of what you're doing right now. This includes the code in your current file, the functions, variables, and logic you have already written, your comments and docstrings, the names of your variables and functions, and other files in your project. In many editors, it can use tabs or the project structure to understand the broader context of your work. It uses all of this local context to narrow down its immense knowledge and provide a suggestion that's actually useful for your specific task, not just a generic snippet. Finally, this combination of vast training and immediate context fuels its suggestion engine. As you type, it sends this context to the AI model, which predicts the most likely sequences of code that should come next. It then presents these back to you in your editor in two main ways: inline completions or multi line completions. Inline completions are basically real time single line or short suggestions that appear ghosted as you type. You can tab to accept them. Then the multi line completions. Often, if you pause or press a specific shortcut, it will generate a large block of code, an entire function, a class, or a complex loop. Together, these three components, the brain, the context, and the output, make GitHub Copilot more than just autocomplete. It's like an AI pair programmer that combines global coding knowledge with your local project to keep you moving faster and learning along the way. Now that we have broken down the three main components, the brain, the context, and the output, let's connect the dots and see how they actually work together in practice. Let's break it down into four simple steps. It all starts with you. You might write a line of code or even just a comment describing your intent, such as create a function to reverse a string. Behind the scenes, Copilot, powered by the OpenAI Codex model, processes your input. It draws on pattern it has learned from millions of lines of public code to figure out what you're likely trying to build. Then, based on that prediction, Copilot generates a suggestion. This could be a quick single line completion or a large block like an entire function or loop. And finally, you decide what to do with the suggestion. Either you accept it, modify it, or reject it. Each choice helps refine how Copilot works with you, creating a feedback loop where the tool becomes more aligned with your coding style and needs over time. In short, GitHub Copilot isn't just guessing, it's continuously combining your current context with its training to provide useful, context aware code that evolves alongside your workflow. Now that we know how GitHub Copilot works under the hood, let's shift our focus to what really matters for developers: the features you get when using it. After all, understanding the engine is one thing, but what makes it truly valuable for developers are the features it brings to the table. First, Copilot offers code auto-completion and function generation. As you type, it can predict the next line or even generate entire functions, saving you a lot of manual effort. Second, it can convert natural language into code. Simply write a comment in plain English, like create a function to calculate factorial, and Copilot will write the code for you. Third, context awareness across files. Copilot doesn't just look at the file that you're editing, it can also take cues from other files in your project, making its suggestion more relevant. Fourth, it supports test case generation. This helps developers automatically create unit tests, ensuring their code is reliable and well validated. Fifth, Copilot helps with documentation and boilerplate creation. It can handle repetitive code structures and even generate helpful documentation, so you can focus on the logic that matters. And lastly, it has multi-language support. Whether you're coding in Python, JavaScript, Java, or C++, Copilot is flexible enough to assist across different ecosystems. Alright, moving on, like any powerful tool, GitHub Copilot comes with both strengths and limitations. Understanding these will help us use it wisely and responsibly. Let's break it down into the pros and cons. First, it boosts productivity. Copilot can suggest snippets and even full functions, which means you're writing less code manually and moving faster. Second, it reduces boilerplate. Those repetitive coding tasks, Copilot handles them so you can focus on logic instead of typing the same structures again and again. Third, it's great for beginners. Think of it like a mentor sitting right beside you, guiding you toward correct patterns and syntax. And finally, it speeds up learning. Even experienced developers can pick up new syntax or approaches just by observing Copilot's suggestion. But it's not perfect. Sometimes it may produce incorrect or insecure code, so you need to review suggestions very carefully. It also depends on context. If your file or comments are vague, the suggestion may not make sense. Importantly, Copilot is not a replacement for developers. Human judgment, testing, and review are always essential. And then there are ethical concerns. Since Copilot was trained on open source code, there are debates about copyright and responsibility. So, the takeaway is this: think of Copilot as your assistant, not your authority. It helps you move faster, but you're still responsible for making sure the code is clean, secure, and reliable. Alright, now let's take a quick tour of the official GitHub Copilot homepage. Alright, so before moving on to the dashboard, let's look at the pricing tiers. First, we have the free plan. This is great for developers just starting out. It gives you about 2000 code completions and 50 chat requests per month. Then we have the pro plan. It costs about $10 per month and gives unlimited access to Copilot. It's free for verified students, teachers, and maintainers of popular open source projects. Then we have the Pro Plus plan. At $39 per month or $390 per year, this plan gives maximum flexibility and model choice. Along with everything in Pro, you get 30 times more premium requests compared to Copilot Free, with the option to buy more. Next is the business plan. At $19 per user per month, this is designed for teams who want to integrate Copilot into their workflow. And lastly, we have the enterprise plan, the most advanced option at $39 per month, meant for large organizations that need a customized Copilot experience. So, whether you're a solo coder, part of a team, or an enterprise, there's a plan that fits your needs. The good news is it's available on almost all major platforms, that is GitHub, VS Code, and Visual Studio, Xcode for Apple developers, JetBrains IDEs like PyCharm, IntelliJ, and WebStorm. Then NeoVim, even platforms like Azure Data Studio, Eclipse, and Raycast. Alright, now let's quickly take a look at the dashboard of GitHub Copilot. So this is the homepage of the dashboard. On the left hand side, you'll see the main navigation menu. Home brings you back to this dashboard. Issues is where you can track and manage bugs or feature requests. Pull request is the hub for code reviews and collaboration. Then we have projects, which help you organize work with Kanban style boards. Then we have discussions that lets your team or community share ideas and provide feedback. Then we have code spaces. This is GitHub's cloud-powered development environment. And of course, Copilot. This is the AI coding assistant that helps you write code faster and smarter. Over here, you'll discover repositories and marketplace to add integrations. Now let's look at the central dashboard. At the top, there is a search bar labeled Ask Copilot. This is where you can directly type questions or commands for Copilot to assist you. Then right below, you'll find quick start buttons such as Get Started with GitHub, Learn to Code, Create a web app, and also Create a profile README for me. These shortcuts make it easy to dive into projects without setup delays. Then scrolling down further, you'll see a section called Start with GitHub Docs. Now here you can find helpful resources such as GitHub documentation, about GitHub and Git, and how to create your first repository. You can also create a pull request. Then you can find documentation about what is GitHub Copilot, GitHub Flow, and so on. Each card even shows an estimated reading time, so you know how long it will take to read. Finally, at the bottom, you'll see GitHub provides personalized recommendations. For example, you can download Visual Studio with Copilot, which allows you to chat with Copilot while building and debugging. And then you can also download GitHub Desktop, a tool that simplifies Git workflows right on your computer. And that's the overview of the GitHub Copilot dashboard. This clean and organized layout is designed to help you get started quickly, find resources easily, and make the most out of Copilot and GitHub's ecosystem. Alright, now that we have seen the dashboard of GitHub Copilot, let's move from theory into practice. The best way to understand Copilot is to actually see it in action. So in the next few minutes, I'll walk you through a live demo, starting from simple code suggestions, then moving into more advanced, real-world scenarios. Alright, before we dive into the demo, let's quickly see how to set up GitHub Copilot inside Visual Studio Code. On the left hand side, there's the extension marketplace. Over here, type GitHub Copilot. Then click on install. This will take a few seconds. And so here you can see that GitHub Copilot is installed and running in VS Code. Now let's move on to exploring what it can do for us in real coding scenarios. Let's start with a very basic coding task to see Copilot's predictive capabilities. I'll just type a comment describing what I want. First, let's create a new file in the VS Code. Go to File and click on New File. We're going to name it factorial.py. Since we'll be writing Python, and press Enter. Click on Create File. Now over here, click on Generate Code and type your comment. We want to generate a function to calculate factorial of a number. Press Enter. You can see Copilot instantly generated a working factorial function just by understanding the natural language command. It predicts context, saving us from writing boilerplate code manually. You can just click on Accept, and here we have the function. Now let's try something more practical. Using natural language to generate code that interacts with an API. Over here, click on Generate Code and type create a Python function that fetches weather data from an API and prints today's temperature, and press Enter. Notice how Copilot not only writes the function but also assumes how to call an API, handle responses, and extract data. If I adjust my prompt slightly, say I ask it to also print humidity, it adopts and rewrites the function accordingly. Let's do that. Over here, click on the GitHub Copilot icon to open chat. Here you can add further comments to make changes to your code. I just want to change my code slightly and ask it to print humidity as well. So I'm going to type create a Python function that fetches weather data from an API and prints today's temperature and humidity, and press Enter. This is going to take a few seconds. So here you can see that it has successfully made changes in our code. Now to apply these changes, we'll just simply click over here. And here you can see the changes have been made. Alright, moving on. Testing is often repetitive. Copilot can speed up that process too. Over here, we're going to type write unit test for the factorial function and press Enter. Here it generated test cases automatically, covering positive numbers, 0, and edge cases. This saves a lot of time and encourages best practices like testing early. We can even ask GitHub Copilot to explain the code in simple words. So let's type explain the code and press Enter. So here you can see how GitHub Copilot has explained in very simple terms what's happening in the code. Moving on, Copilot isn't just for backend tasks. It also works beautifully for front-end development. Let's create a simple sign-up page. For that, let's click on File and click on New File, and let's name it signup.html. Click on Create File. Now over here, click on Generate Code and type create a simple sign-up page with username, email, and password, and press Enter. And here you can see that GitHub Copilot has successfully generated a code to create a simple sign-up page with username, email, and password. Let's click on Accept and let's view it in browser. For that, let's open Live Server. Now this is a clean starting point created entirely from a short comment. Now let's tell Copilot to add some more tabs. For that, let's go back into the Visual Studio Code and open chat and enter our comments. Now over here, we're telling GitHub Copilot to make the background attractive and colorful with decent pattern, add a remember me checkbox, add a forget password link. We also want to add social login buttons with their icons, Google, Facebook, Twitter, add form validation with JavaScript, and make the page responsive for mobile devices. And we'll press Enter. Now let's apply the changes to our code and let's take a look at the browser. And there you go. With just a few lines of instructions, Copilot applied styling that improves the look and feel. This demonstrates how we can iterate step by step, turning a plain HTML page into a styled, functional sign-up form. As you just saw, GitHub Copilot isn't just about writing small snippets. It helps across the development lifecycle from simple code completions to generating APIs, writing tests, and even building front end pages with styling and validation. It acts like an AI powered coding partner, helping you move faster and focus on logic rather than boilerplate. So, whether you're a beginner just starting out or an experienced developer working on production apps, GitHub Copilot adapts to your context and accelerates your workflow. It reduces repetitive tasks and lets you stay in the flow. GitHub Copilot isn't here to replace developers, it's here to empower them. The real question is, what will you build with it? That concludes our session for today. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And also share it with your colleagues or friends who might benefit from this information. If you have any questions or topics that you would like us to cover in the future videos, feel free to leave a comment below. Your feedback is very valuable to us.